and welcome to Welcome Home Radio with your hosts, Blair Thomas and Tom Holm. The waters in the mortgage industry can be pretty muddy. Luckily, Welcome Home Radio has the answers for you, the consumer. And now, here are your hosts, Blair Thomas and Tom Holm.
Well, not really. My name's Alan Pace. Blair and Tom could not make it this week, so we are going to do this. And welcome to Welcome Home Radio on this beautiful sunny day in Frisco, Texas. How do you like the day? Nice weather?
Beautiful.
We love it.
There you go. Well, today we're going to talk all things title in the real estate transaction, and we have two guests that represent Providence Title in South Lake, Texas. We have Kim Fields and Cammie Wilson. Say hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Ellen.
So we got lots to talk about today, and we have two people that know a lot about title. But like Blair does with his radio show, Welcome Home Radio, we're going to talk a little fun fact first. And I know that Cammie and Kim have no idea what's about to happen. So we're going to teach them about title. Fun facts about title insurance.
Oh,
Okay.
Get close. Get that thing up there.
Yeah,
Bring
yeah,
it right
yeah,
to
yeah,
you.
uh-huh.
There you go. Number one. Any idea who the first person was to come up with the concept of title insurance?
I have no idea.
I don't either.
Ben Franklin.
Really?
Oh, really? Wow.
So there you go. That's kind of cool, right? Now you know
Yeah.
where it all started, and we're going to know more in a minute. Number two, title insurance primary focus is proactive, not reactive. It aims to prevent issues from ever raising in the first place.
Yes.
That's true, correct?
True.
Correct.
Title insurance is available in several other countries, not just the United States. It's available in Northern England, Northern Ireland, Canada, Mexico, New Zealand, Australia, China, Korea, United Kingdom, and all of Europe. Now, another question. Title searches were first guaranteed for accuracy starting in what year? That's a tough one, huh?
That's a tough one. I don't know.
1868.
Okay. I was going to say
Oh, really?
1874.
Ooh, very good.
It was just going to be a guess.
Close.
Any idea what the first state in the United States was that got a law allowing title insurance?
Virginia?
Close.
Mm.
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
And it says title insurance is regulated by state insurance agencies.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
The first title company established in Pennsylvania was called the Law Property Assurance and Trust Society.
Mm.
Society. Ooh.
Yeah.
Fancy.
And I think we're going to end this with where you were at, Kim. The very first title insurance policy was issued in what year?
1874?
One.
Oh, 1874.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool, right? I didn't know any of
Cool.
that stuff.
I didn't either.
I didn't either.
All right. Well, let's segue into what we're here for, and that's talking about title insurance. For all you realtors out there and lenders that might be listening and people that have bought houses or thinking about buying houses, a title company is where everything stops. It's where you get your house. It's where after the title company's done with you, you get the keys. It's a fun thing to do. So starting from the beginning, let's just talk a little bit about your title company, who you guys represent, and let's go from there.
Okay, we represent Providence Title. We're a locally owned company based here in the DFW area. We have approximately 25 locations in DFW, also in San Antonio and in Houston. Our office that Cammie and I work out of is in South Lake. But one of the unique things about Providence is we are all interconnected. We're on the same systems, everything. So you can work with me and Cammie in South Lake, but maybe your seller or buyers in Arlington, they can close at that office whenever it's convenient.
Cool.
Yeah. So we try to, our main goal is every title company is offering the same service. Ours is to offer the customer service that goes along with it.
And what are your functions at the title company? You are the branch manager?
Yes, I'm the team lead and also an escrow officer.
Okay, cool. And,
Yes.
and you are?
This is Cammie, and I'm an escrow officer.
Yeah, yes, you are. And just so everybody knows, I've closed quite a few deals with Cammie over the years, and it goes great. So when you're a realtor and you put a listing out there, you try to put a title company that you trust.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that that's where it's going to close, but it's a good thing to have down there, and you know you can trust the title company. title companies are really important when it comes to everything real estate. You got to have an office that, a good office that knows what they're doing and can do things in a timely fashion and will answer the phone. Kind of a big deal.
That's a huge deal.
Yeah.
Yes. Communication.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, what are some examples of I don't know, like a fun closing or what's a perfect closing in a title company consist of in your minds? Go ahead, just anybody.
Well, I mean, basically, if they leave happy, and I mean, I've gotten hugs before saying,
Yeah.
you made this process, you and your team made this process seamless. I mean, that is the best closing. I mean, that's all I could ask for because that's what we strive to do.
And that's important. First time home buyer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, it's like you're God.
Yes.
It's like you're doing
Yes.
everything to make my life better. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you. And an example of a 65-year-old couple I helped buy their very first home. You talk about
Wow.
hugs.
Oh, yes.
It was God blesses and
Yes.
hugs everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's really
Very rewarding,
yeah, it is
for sure.
Yep.
What's the biggest purchase most people make in their lives? So our goal is to make the magic happen there.
Yeah.
That's the last thing they remember, so that they're comfortable, they know what they're signing, and that they walk away with a smile on their face.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I tell you, and I've had so many different experiences at different title companies, and like any business, folks, there's good and there's bad. We don't talk about the bad too much. We talk about the good more. And, I can talk about, oh, Tom, are you on the phone, buddy? I think we got a phone call. Hello, Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Well, we'll just keep going until he
It's
chimes in. So I was about to talk about a kind of a fun experience I had with title once, with two titles.
Mhm.
So in every real estate transaction, in most at least, there's a listing agent which represents the seller's best interest, and there's a buyer agent which represents the buyer's best interest. In this case, I was the buyer best interest. So it's about 105 degrees in Dallas. It's August. And we have a situation where we're in a title company doing the closing, and we have to close so that the people in a title company down the street can buy their house. And it didn't go very well. We got sitting down, and all of a sudden, one of the parties, the buyers, who I wasn't one part of the transaction, just somebody there to support the person, wanted to talk to a real estate lawyer and go over everything they were about to sign, which is everybody's right, but it was taking forever, and you guys are on a schedule, we're all on a schedule, and people are waiting for their money so they can buy another house.
Right.
And Tom, you there?
I am here.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
Well, I'm just fine. I'm listening to your story. I think it's great.
Cool. Well, we'll just continue on, and anything you got to say, just come on in, man. We can hear you very well. So we're sitting there, and I got up and I pulled my client out, and I said, if you're going to buy the house, you're pretty much going to have to sign these documents the way that they want you to sign them. Everything's been legalized. This is the way it is. And he goes, well, I can't control what I can't control. And, it was a relative. And so I thought, I'm going to walk over to the other title company. So I did. And I sat down with the sellers and their agent, and they were not happy. And I said, we're doing our best. Hang in there. We're going to get it done. And they appreciated that, I think. People are people. Title companies, you all do. You respect each other.
Right.
And so I went back and I told him finally, and he did. He finally signed. Took 2 hours. That's a pretty, what's a typical closing take, you guys? I mean,
For a buyer, 45 minutes to an hour. Seller, about 15 minutes to 30 minutes.
yeah, so this was
Yeah.
2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And so I gave the title company a lot of kudos for hanging in there and being patient, and they were not happy because everything got delayed. But we got done, we got through it, and that was kind of and I wasn't a realtor very long when I was going through that, but I'd been around long enough to know we need to settle some things down here a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Everyone's getting a
any
little antsy at that point.
any fun experiences in your title career?
Well, when you're talking about someone wanting to look over everything, one of my very first closings, they wanted to look at all the documents ahead of time. Fantastic on the buyer's side.
Yep.
I email them over. They come in. He was in law school at the time. The kid buying the house, and he had marked through all the buyer documents, and he's like, "Well, no, I need this reworded and these kind of things." And it was just kind of funny because the lender was there at the closing. They were like, "You don't get to mark up the documents.
You can't do that.
No,
Yeah.
these are the documents." And he was like, "Well, but he'd gone through them all, doing his attorney spiel."
And while we're right there at the intersection, explain to our people listening who are not familiar with it why you can't change things. Why?
I mean, they're legal forms, especially the deed of trust. That's a promulgated form, which all of Texas uses, and you cannot mark out anything,
Yep.
or you can't get the loan.
Yeah.
And the lender documents on the buyer side are the same. They're all,
Yeah.
legal
Across the
forms
board.
done by
Yeah.
their attorneys, and this is how they want things worded. So you
Yes.
can't just say, "I don't like that," or "I
And
want to
those
mark
are-
that out."
Those are
That's
the two
non-negotiable.
biggies. Yeah.
Mhm.
I remember my first closing, and I'm like, well, we're going to take these documents and send them all to the lender. I'm like, why? I thought we were here doing that.
Right.
But yeah, obviously you don't get your money until you guys do your job,
Right.
Exactly.
and it has to be the way it's all written up.
Exactly.
So, how about you? Any fun ones?
I can't think of anything in particular.
They're all kind of I know
Yeah,
that
it's
when
just-
you and I have worked together, it's, working with Cammie is real easy because there's no surprises when you get to closing, and that, I'm being serious there. You know what you're getting when you get there. So,
Right.
so it goes fast, and title companies I found are, some are comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
others you're not comfortable. I mean, like you go to your title company, Providence and Salt Lake, you can have a cup of coffee, some cheese crackers.
Sure.
I mean,
Right.
Cookies.
seriously, you could have lunch
Right.
and relax and enjoy your closing because it's a big thing. You're either getting your money from the house you're selling
Right.
or you're getting your house. And two good reasons to be there, obviously, but it's kind of fun when you're comfortable. And I've been to some title companies where you are just like waiting for your
I've
bus.
heard those stories. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The 915's ready. Come on
Right.
in. It's like, huh?
And you got to wonder, are those escrow officers, do they just not like what they do? Or they just, it doesn't compute to me because I want that to be the best experience for that client,
Yeah, absolutely.
So it just doesn't, and I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't either. All I know is that, all the gazillions of realtors that I know and I've worked with over the years, we have one thing in common, and you want a nice, comfortable ending for the transaction.
Absolutely.
And comfortable doesn't just mean a nice couch and cookies. It means no surprises.
Right.
And we probably talk about that a little bit too, is I've had right up to closing, like that day, funding fall through.
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys, that's got to be disappointing because you don't get paid, right?
No.
So you've got 30 days of work in there,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden, funding falls through, and it falls through for many reasons.
Right.
Life happens, death happens, divorce happens.
People quit their jobs the day of closing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Home Depot and
Or
shopping
go,
happens.
Go buy a car, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And so, for the new realtors out there, you always want to tell your clients right off the bat, don't go shopping. You're pre-approved. Let's love on that for a little while.
Yes.
And the minute you close on your house and you get the keys, have fun.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I had a buyer one time that came to closing, and they pulled their credit like right at closing, and their credit score had dropped like 100 points. So there were all these issues going on. We'll come to
Lord.
find out, the loan officer had told the borrower, "Don't spend any money," meaning don't open new accounts, anything like that. The buyer took that to mean don't spend any money, don't pay any bills, don't do anything. So
Oh, no.
throughout that
Oh, my
process, they had not
gosh,
paid
no.
their car notes and everything like that. So it was
no.
it was a mess, but it was just how people interpret. So that's another thing
Mm-hmm.
in the business. You have to be very careful how you word things.
So was that a
was-
loss or just delayed until they got it corrected?
It was delayed. There was
Yeah.
several things that had to go on.
That
but
sounds fixable a little
it
bit.
was-
But
It was, but
Yeah.
it was just a total shocking thing. At right the morning of closing, when they're pulling credit and they're like, "We have a huge problem."
And
So-
banks, they like their money. I always, tell the new client or any client, the people that work at banks love people. Banks hate people. They love money. And it's pretty true, really. But we need banks or we
Yes.
wouldn't get by home.
Yes, we do.
we do.
So let's talk. We got a few minutes here. let's just start talking a little bit about exactly what a title company does from the beginning to the end. We've got time to start that, and we can continue in the next. But, I'll start it off by just saying a contract is brought to a title company's attention, be it a sale or be it a buy. Obviously, it's both. But as an agent, you're representing one or the other, and you're usually the one that presents a contract. So when you get a contract from a realtor, what next? Where do you start? And let's just kind of go through it, no hurry.
Okay. Well, first of all, we turn in the contract, and that means that the title examiner, they start examining the title work. And that determines if there are any mortgage liens, if there's any prior existing liens, tax liens, HOA liens, anything like that, in order to clear up prior to the transfer of the property from the seller to the buyer.
And about how long does that take to do typically?
It usually takes probably 2 to 5 days to do the title search.
And then if you get a hit on any of those, what next?
We have to figure out what we need to do to clear up any issues. I mean, there could be ownership issues. There could be someone, a previous owner that didn't transfer their interest, stuff like that. I mean, we would just have to figure out what the problem is, and then we would just.
So you would approach whatever side, like the listing agent,
right,
and say, we have an issue here. Can you get with your client? And then maybe the client would call you and try to help.
Yes. Sometimes we can figure it out ourselves, but sometimes we might need the owner to help us and get involved. So.
Okay, so we get through those 3 to 5 days, and then what's next?
Well, there usually is a survey that's ordered if the seller doesn't have an existing one that we can use, and that's the drawing of the property.
And for you guys out there that don't know about that, if you're borrowing money, you need a survey. If you're paying cash, you don't need it. But if you're borrowing money,
you're right.
You got to have a survey. So there's good old surveys and there's bad old surveys.
Right.
And if you've made any changes to the property, i.e. a pool, built a shed or covered porch or something, maybe poured some concrete, then the old survey that doesn't reflect that will not work. And we do negotiate that in the contract generally on if our survey doesn't work, then who pays for it. So it's everything in real estate's negotiable. But so you get a good survey, and then
we also have to order, if the property is in a homeowners association, we have to order a resale certificate.
Oh boy, there's a fun one.
Yeah.
So a lot of folks that are listening nationally, homeowners are nationwide, but generally rural areas, you don't worry about it too much. But in urban areas, HOAs are homeowner associations, and they have different rules. And oh my gosh, do they have power? So you can't abuse them. They have various costs related to them. And when you transfer property, the buyer has every right to know of what they're buying into. Is that kind of where we're going?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And what's that involve? Who pays for that, and how long does that take?
The homeowners association. It really depends on the management company. I mean, sometimes if it's self-managed, we can get it within a couple of days. If it's a big management company, a lot of times that's between 7 and 10 days to get all of that information.
Is any of that simultaneous to the other stuff you're doing, other people in the office working on it, or you typically will have a contract for how long?
Maybe 30 days, I would say.
Yeah,
maybe
30 is pretty typical.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty typical.
Oh, that's cool.
So, but I will say that speaking on the homeowners association, we did have a file last week, I believe, that the HOA would not release the resale certificate because there were some violations. So again, that's the power that they have, and we can't close without that resale certificate. So that delayed the closing a couple of days because they had to fix those violations. They had to go out and inspect it, and then at that point, they would release what we needed.
And in a way, that's kind of a blessing to find out because
oh yes, definitely.
The HOAs are the power of the lien.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's not fun to look up and see. Oh,
Yes.
I thought I made my payments on time.
Yes.
Well, there's a lien, and there's actually people that have liens and have no idea.
Yes.
Yes.
I guess we can get into that later too.
Yes.
But I tell you what we'll do. We're going to take a short break here in a few seconds, and we'll be back. We'll pick up with the HOA because there's a lot more to talk about there, and we'll get into more about what title companies do with the real estate transactions. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you in a few minutes.
3, 2, 1. KVGIRadio.com.
Y'all have really just opened my bubble and just...
KVGI Radio brings you conversation and entertainment. Be sure to follow us on social media. Who streams the best talk shows? We do.
You're listening to KVGIRadio.com. Streaming live from the KVGI studios in Frisco, Texas. Live without limits.
Hello and welcome to Welcome Home Radio with your hosts, Blair Thomas and Tom Holm. The waters in the mortgage industry can be pretty muddy. Luckily, Welcome Home Radio has the answers for you, the consumer. And now, here are your hosts, Blair Thomas and Tom Holm.
Well, welcome back to Welcome Home Radio, and my name's Alan Pace. I'm with the SWR Group of Keller Williams, and I help people buy and sell real estate all over North Texas. Tom and Blair couldn't be here today, so you're stuck with me, folks. And I'm happy to tell you we've got two of the best title people in Dallas-Fort Worth sitting right across from me. So we're going to continue on, Kim and Cammie,
Yay.
talking about HOAs where we left off before the break. And I think we were talking about the possibility that somebody had a little problem with their HOA, and you found that out at close. So talk a little bit more about HOA and title involvement.
Okay, so basically when we order an HOA, a resale certificate, the seller has to pay for that up front. Now, every HOA company is a little different. Sometimes they don't have to do that, but typically they have to pay for that up front. Now, there's also a transfer fee that an HOA typically charges, and that, of course, is negotiated to see how much the buyer pays, how much the seller pays. And what is included in this HOA package is any restrictions that pertain to the property, any covenants, anything you need to know about that property.
It can be lengthy.
The rules you need to follow.
It could be
exactly.
kind of thick, right?
Absolutely.
And what do they typically call in with a credit card or something to pay for that? Or
Yes.
it's not part of the closing docs?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. And it seems to me the few that I've read, it's kind of like a lot of contracts that when you buy, you don't read every little word.
Right.
But there's some main ones in there. And the bottom line is if you live in an HOA and you haven't followed the rules or you haven't paid your dues, there's going to be a little snippet in there when you go to sell your house or buy a house you want. So what's a good example? I mean, is there like an example of what they don't, is it mostly they don't pay their bill, or when you find something wrong with HOA?
Sometimes it's in regards to the finances, but we had one the other day. The fence was painted the wrong color.
Oh,
the
boy.
HOA, I mean, some HOAs are super strict. You can't park, RVs. That seems to be a big one people want to know. Like, can I park an RV in my driveway? All the way to the color of the fence. Some of them you can't build storage sheds in the backyard. It again depends on the HOA. But
Trash cans being visible to the
Yes.
street, I
And
mean,
that's kind of the benefit of the HOA. I mean, everybody's different. When it's your money, you're spending it, and you want to live in a certain area, then you want this area to be policed like it's supposed to be. And HOAs can be good, and they can be user friendly, and a lot of times you do get what you pay for.
Right.
Other times you don't. But there are restrictions, and they're there generally for the value of your home to maintain the value.
Exactly.
And why is that important? Obviously, it's called equity.
right.
You don't want to pay $250,000 for a home, and then people move in, and the neighborhood goes away, and all of a sudden your house is worth $210,000.
Right.
Not good. You want it to be $300,000.
Correct.
So you take that equity and use me again, and let's buy another house.
Right.
Yeah. So we get through the HOA part,
Mm-hmm.
and you're still in title. We've ordered our survey, and we've done the title search. What happens next?
We order a home warranty. So
yeah.
yes, so that's part of it as well.
And you folks out there might have seen the commercials. It's not, it's a home warranty. It's if you move in and your stove doesn't work, you can call somebody.
Right.
Kind of a neat thing.
Exactly.
There's a couple of companies out there. And in fact, we'll have a company or two on as a guest later on in one of the shows. Those are very misunderstood home warranty companies,
Agreed.
and they're all different. And like anything, some are good, some are not. So,
Right.
but we'll get into that later. So you order that, and then
So, I mean, I think that's basically it. And then we just wait for, if there's a lender involved, we wait for the documents from the lender.
all right. Well, let's dig in a little bit deeper into that, and let's talk about what your main function is. I guess would be title insurance, which I don't want to buy a house and then in a year and a half get a knock on the door and they say, get out of my house.
Exactly.
Correct.
So a seller, generally in the state of Texas, will pay for clear title,
Yes.
which means in the contract negotiation, they're paying roughly 1%, maybe a little less than 1% of the purchase price.
That's a good ballpark.
Yeah, and it's all you can do is ballpark it. And that way, title can tell you, yeah, this house is clear. You're good. So what is title insurance exactly?
Okay, so I think we can all agree purchasing a home is the most expensive and important purchase you'll ever make. So you definitely want to protect that investment, obviously. Just imagine possibly losing your home because it wasn't protected. One way we can do this is to issue title insurance. So because not everybody understands the importance of title insurance and the role of a title company in a real estate transaction, that's what I'm here to do. Tell you.
And she raised her hand, as you
I know,
can see.
I'm like, I
Yes.
can say what it is. Okay, so title insurance is an insurance policy that protects your legal rights to the property. That's in a nutshell, that's what it does. So the first thing a title company does, which we've already kind of touched on, is the performing the title search. And that's where we see if there's any title liens, any ownership issues that
And
will allow
who does
us
that
to,
in a title company? Do you have lawyers that do it somewhere, or who does this actual search?
we have examiners that do it in a title plant.
Okay.
So they have access to all the documentation that's been filed with the county records.
Is a title plant, like all 25 of your locations use that plant?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so it's
We have our
corporate.
own plant. Yes.
Oh,
Right.
and there's a big advantage.
Huge.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
We'll talk about that a little later too.
Definitely. So typically after a closing takes place, we have two types of title insurances that we issue. One's the lender's policy. That's what insures the lender.
Okay.
And that's what it's based on the loan amount. And then we have the owner's policy that insures the buyer, and that's based on the sales price. Okay. And it's all
Okay.
state regulated. And so these policies, they'll insure against the loss resulting from defects in the title that are covered under the policy.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's good. Yeah. Okay.
So, and I just have an example here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So a possible claim on a policy would be if there was some type of fraud, error, or forgery on a previous deed, that could result in the owner losing the title to the property. So as you can see, that's why it's really important to get title insurance to protect your investment.
And I think a lot of realtors have a hard time. You know, clients will ask, well, what do I have title insurance for? And what happens if I get, so what does happen? Let's say, you know, Providence issues title insurance and they're telling us we're clear, we did our job, you guys are safe, you're good to go. And then 5 years, an issue comes up. What good does title insurance, I mean, it assures you,
Right.
it's assurance, but what good does it do if there's actually a problem down the road? I don't, have you been exposed to any of that ever in your careers, or? I have not.
Well, I mean, I don't know any particulars.
'Cause it shouldn't
that-
happen, right?
It should not happen because if we do our job right,
Yeah, we're
that
good.
should not happen.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. As long as we're doing our job, then you shouldn't have a claim and shouldn't have to worry about somebody coming back and saying, hey, you know, I had interest in this property and nobody contacted me.
I think the reason
So-
that comes up more is because of the advertising on when you lose your ID. You know, and they'll
Right,
say we'll
right.
spend this amount of money to get it back for you, and I've had several people go, "Oh, is it kind of like that?" You know, and I'm like, "No, I don't think it's really kind of like that." But the difference is, it's more, you know, it's just a matter of time before your identity gets stolen.
Right.
Right.
And I'm one that has already experienced it.
Oh, no.
Not fun. Different with title. You've done your job, move in, enjoy it,
Right.
and live.
And
Right?
and if something happens, then, you know, they would just file a claim against the policy, and then the underwriting attorneys, they would get involved and see what happened and defend them
Yeah.
in whatever, you know, the issue was.
So we've covered all the steps. We've brought you a contract. You've done your title search. You've cleared it for, you know, it's good. We assure you that your home is clear. We've got the documents ready, and we're ready for closing at that point, right? And there's something that happened a few years back where you now have to take a few days. The people that are buying get, what, 3 days?
Yes, 3 days
Yeah.
to review the closing
Closing
disclosure
disclosure.
with all the figures on it.
Yeah. And at that, generally before that, the realtors are on, you know, talking with you guys about a closing time. We're in touch with lenders. We're all in touch with lenders.
Yes.
Because we don't do anything without lenders.
Yes.
Hear that, Blair? If you're listening, lend some money, brother. So So let's go into a close. Here we go. I'm buying a house. I'm sitting down, and my realtor's probably there, maybe my
Yes.
lender,
Yeah.
and in Kim walks with what? What are you bringing in to my buyer?
I'm bringing in a stack of documents that they're going to be signing.
And when you say signing, what exactly is it? Is it written, or can it be DocuSign, or what?
It's their actual signature, has to
Okay.
match the driver's license, and has to match how the lender has it on the paperwork. So if they have a middle initial on the paperwork, they have to sign everything with their middle initial. It all has to be signed exactly how. I kind of laugh that half of our job is the signature police, making sure everything's signed, initialed, and everything correctly to make sure it's
Well,
valid.
it's changed over the years from a handshake to now you have to sign your name to assure somebody that's really your name, which I never understood that one, but whatever. But they will check your other names. Like I've been AP since I was a little kid,
Yes.
and everybody calls me AP. And if I'm getting called Alan, I'm in trouble.
Right.
Generally, or I just met you and it's cool. But I remember closing in our home. AP came up. It was on a piece of paper, and I had to okay that, and that is me. And
There's
That's
an
from your
also
credit
known
report,
as.
yeah.
Mhm.
how do you guys find all this stuff out? Where do you go to find that out?
Well, the lender, they pull your credit report.
Right.
And if you've applied a certain way, or if somebody's typed your name in a certain way, it could be a misspelling, but that's still on your credit report. It's still you, and you just have to attest that that's
Like
that
Tom
you're
is
also known
Thomas,
as-
and
yes,
Yes.
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And maiden
Yeah.
names, middle initials,
Yeah.
all of that kind of
Oh,
stuff shows
Lord.
up.
Usually women have like
Oh.
a long list. Since
Yes.
they've got their maiden name too. So.
I've been in a closing when she had to do 4 names every like boom, 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 boom.
Yes.
And it was like you said, Kim, it was like that.
I've been in a closing where the husband found out the wife had been married before because of all of the different names that showed on it.
Yes,
That's a whole nother segment.
No, we got to go there. We got 3 minutes. All right, let's not name names, but let's talk situational here. So, when you go to a closing, folks, you're laid out bare. Everything about you is there. Your credit, your
Correct.
names, your past.
Yes.
So, what happened?
Well, we all offered to excuse ourselves to walk out of the room, the agent, myself, and the lender.
How did it come up? Were you
and-
trying to sign something?
Well, they were signing the also known as affidavit. She was signing it, and he was looking at hers, and he's like, well, who is this? And she just kind of was laughing. Oh, I was in my 20s. Well, there were 2 different names. So really, he found out she had been married 2 times prior to the one he knew about.
So
before
let
they
me
walked
ask
in
this, Cammie, were you and everybody else in the office against the door kind of listening?
They didn't know what was going on at the time.
I was like, when did this happen? I don't remember.
The other office.
So
Okay, the other
he
office,
looked
okay.
down, he saw a different name, and he's like, honey, what?
Mhm.
What? And what
Yeah.
happened?
They ended up closing, but I'm sure it was a good conversation after they left.
Oh, my
Gosh, so
God, I
bad,
can't even
so
imagine
bad.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The hardest thing for me ever was literally when they cried because their credit just blew up right before closing, and the lender is like, oh, ding, 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 and they literally couldn't close, and it took a lot of negotiation with the seller because you know how that is,
Right.
and we're talking 2 years ago when there was no patience by anybody.
Right.
So it was really, let's put it this way, it was difficult to get your contract agreed to by a seller when the seller was getting 10 offers on a home 2 years ago. And you all remember that.
Right.
Very
Oh, yes.
frustrating. And we'll get into that a little bit too, but people got so frustrated they just quit buying. They just get out of the market.
Right.
So those are a lot of folks we've been working with the last year to 18 months is people that got frustrated because they couldn't find a home, and things have settled down. Prices have come down a little bit, moderated, it's healthier, but still you got to carry your credit right to the end.
Absolutely.
Yes, you do.
And otherwise, there's nothing that anybody in title can do. There's nothing your realtor can do. There's nothing you
Your
can.
loan officer can do. It's all on you.
Yeah, so you're pretty much done. So cool. Well, we got more to talk about, and we will. We're going to talk a few more stories about title because I got a few good ones. And we'll talk more about Providence title. I want to get into that a little bit more because you guys took the time to come here. And I want you to be able to tell realtors out there that are listening and homeowners that are thinking of, moving. I want them to be able to contact you. So when we get back, we'll start with talking about Providence title again and the contact information for you guys. email addresses, phone numbers, and we'll be back in about 2 or 3 minutes, and we look forward to our last segment on all things title companies and real estate.
Awesome.
See you in a little bit.
3, 2, 1. KVGIRadio.com.
Y'all have really just opened my bubble and just.
KVGI Radio brings you conversation and entertainment. Be sure to follow us on social media. Who streams the best talk shows? We do.
You're listening to KVGIRadio.com. Streaming live from the KVGI studios in Frisco, Texas. Live without limits.
Hello and welcome to Welcome Home Radio with your hosts, Blair Thomas and Tom Holm. The waters in the mortgage industry can be pretty muddy. Luckily, Welcome Home Radio has the answers for you, the consumer. And now, here are your hosts, Blair Thomas and Tom Holm.
Well, welcome back to our third and last segment on title companies and real estate. And Blair and Tom have the day off, so I'm Alan Pace with SWR Group at Keller Williams, Frisco Stars, right here in Frisco, Texas.
Woo.
And we're going to talk a little bit about Providence Title, and we've been talking about it and everything that you guys do. So give you a couple more minutes here. Talk about your company again and how any realtor out there that may need education or access to your online tutorials or anything you might do in person to meet a realtor, who would they call? How would they get a hold of you? And let's start there.
Okay. Well, again, Providence Title is located throughout the Metroplex and also in Houston and San Antonio. The main thing, again, we work together throughout the Metroplex. Cammie and I are both located in the South Lake office. I can be reached on my cell phone, 940-367-4743. My email address is ksheffield@protitletx.com. Our website, protitletx.com, has all of our locations. So it has the address, fax number, phone number, everything for any location to make easy access for anything. There's also realtor resources on our website. If people want to know what title insurance is or any of those kind of things, we do have PDFs that people can go and get a lot of information from our website.
And if you are a new realtor, do that.
Yes.
I'm telling you, you get trained, and I know you go through schools and stuff like that, but you kind of have to get out here and get a little dirty to learn about all the things about title and real estate and lending, and the resources on the websites are pretty cool. So
absolutely,
Yeah,
there's
it's all the real world stuff. I
Yes,
guess,
there's
yeah.
buyer checklist, seller checklist, anything like along those lines that you might need.
yeah, love that.
The main thing about Providence is every title company is offering the same product. We're all regulated by Texas Department of Insurance. Our rates are the same. There's no negotiating how much your title policy is. You can call us. You can call the title company next door. The title fees are going to be the same. The main thing that sets Providence aside from the other title companies is our customer service. Like you said earlier, when you walk in, you can sit down, you have a cup of coffee, you feel comfortable. That is our goal. And communication. Our goal is throughout the whole process, everybody's knowing what's going on the file. It's not, oh, the day of closing, we're going, oh, by the way, we're still missing 3 items. We don't have that HOA, those kind of things. We let you know when things are happening, real time, so everybody's on the same page.
Yep.
You've been in the business long enough, you can usually handle any situation if you know what the situation is.
Yeah.
So,
and I've personally experienced what you guys do, so it's good.
yes, so that is really what we kind of say sets us apart. The other thing is we have 11 different underwriters. What that means is if we have a situation and maybe one underwriter is like, no, we don't want to insure that for whatever reason, we have 10 other options to go through. Cammie got one this week that a listing agent called, and one title company said they could not handle a transaction. We were able to go to different underwriters and get it insured and get it taken care of and get it closed. So it's having those options
that's cool.
and having people like Cammie and myself, people that have experience that know, okay, there was a reason. We see this is the situation, but we can fix that situation with this document, or this took care of this, and
I want to
having
circle
that
back to
knowledge.
that after Cammie, you introduce yourself a little bit and how they can get a hold of you, and I want to come back to that title company that couldn't handle it, yet you guys did. So
I'll let Cammie kind of.
that is
Yeah, I can
huge.
go over that.
That's
Yeah.
huge when it comes. If you're a realtor out there, again, I talk to a lot of new realtors. A lot of the ones that have experience have been through it, but the new ones haven't. And what we're about to talk about is well, pay attention. I'd say that's it's a good thing to know.
Yeah.
So who are you?
I'm Cammie Wilson. And you can reach me on my cell phone, 972-345-3065. My email address is kcwilson@protitletx.com. So I'll tell you a little bit about that situation where we ended up being able to get the deal. So basically the other title company was concerned about, there was a ladybird deed that was filed. And basically
Well, let's
what
stop
that
there.
was,
Yeah, what's a ladybird?
well, I'm not sure if I can explain that in detail. But basically, what had happened was the mother had title to the property. She signed the ladybird deed a couple of days prior to her passing. Okay? So then the ladybird deed was not filed until after she passed. So there was several underwriters, gosh, maybe 6, that didn't want to touch it. They're like, well, they didn't want to look at it as a valid deed.
So you had an agent calling title companies, can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me?
Right. And so we're like, you know what? yeah, let's figure out what other underwriters we can go to. And I went to a couple of underwriters. One wouldn't do it. One said, yes, we'll say that deed is valid. And because if it wasn't valid, then there would be a whole heirship affidavit, because there was a brother involved and stuff like that. So it would have just spiraled out of control.
Did somebody die, or was it a state type thing?
Yes. The mom passed away.
Yeah.
So yes, so it could have been a very tedious deal.
Yes, but Cammie took the extra steps. Instead of just saying,
yes,
someone passed away, we can't do it without this stuff. Right. She researched it, saw the Ladybird deed, put all the facts together, and then it made sense.
Yeah.
So it's going the extra mile that made the difference in that. Mm-hmm. So they transferred it from one title company to another.
I've dealt with death before in real estate. It's not fun. And again, there's another reason why you need to have a good title company, because trust me, none of us know everything.
Right.
None of us. No matter how many years you've been doing something, I learn something every day.
We do too.
And the death thing is difficult. This gentleman was alive and well, but he knew he was dying, Lou Gehrig's disease. Mm-hmm. And so over a period of months, watched his demise. And at the same time, I know I have to sell the house. He's got sons that live in other states, and there's no wife. Mm-hmm. So you try not to get personally involved, but sometimes you do.
You do.
And I went over and met him, and first time I met him, he was shaking a little bit, and he says, I'm not long for the world. And so, you're just kind of like shake, you do what you do and you talk. And then a couple months go by, and because he needs to live there, till he can't live there. So I go over, and he didn't know me. And I walked in, and then he finally, I sat down with him, and we got familiar again. And I said, can I borrow your phone? He gave it to me, and I found my name in his phone, and I replaced it with your realtor. Mm. And so I put your realtor, and he looked at that. He goes, oh, okay, yeah, you're my realtor, and so did stuff, what you do, going through a house and trying to help get it prepared, have to do an estate sale and stuff afterwards. So, so the last time I saw the gentleman, I went over, and I'll never forget, I pulled up, and he goes, about time you got over here. You got to cut my damn grass. And I'm like, what? He goes, cut the grass. And I'm like, well, I'm your realtor. Look, your phone. He goes, oh, and then thank God the grass cutter guys pulled up. They literally did right there.
You're about to cut some grass.
He was chewing my butt about cutting his grass. I'm like, I was kind of enjoying it, but I wasn't going to cut the grass. It was on an acre. So anyway, and unfortunately, that was the last time I saw him. And then we sold it and had a buyer. And he said, I have a great title company that really does well in this. And that's the other thing. Realtors out there, you want to go with title companies that you can trust and that have taken care of you. And so when you do a listing, you try to put that on your listing. But nobody wants to lose a sale and fight over the title company unless it's necessary. And sometimes it is. And death can be one of those reasons. And I knew the title company the guy was bringing, and I had no problem with it. So he's paying what we were asking, kind of going our way a little bit. So I'm like, cool, we'll go with that. And it went fairly well. And, had an estate sale and all that. And but it can really get difficult.
Did he have a will?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
And it was very good will, and that's a great point,
That's
Cammie.
good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, get a will, folks. I know it's a community property state and all that stuff, but man, get a will. Get the real estate affidavit thing filled out. Get it all done right, because you don't know when your last day is.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's a good point, Cam. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
So do you see that? I mean, let's go there just
that.
for a second. Yeah, let's go there for a minute or two and talk about. It probably wasn't a good situation. So what happened?
Oh, I mean, this happens all the time. When there's not a will, then we have to figure out who the heirs are to that portion of the property of the person that's deceased.
You do that.
So yes, we do that.
And do you charge for that?
So,
How does that work?
Yes,
Okay.
there's a charge for that. We do like a questionnaire to get all of the information, all the family history, and then we prepare the affidavit. And then it'll tell us who the heirs of that person's portion of the property is.
Okay.
And then they're the people that actually sign and transfer the property.
Yeah.
So
I guess that's messy sometimes, and
Yes.
as is divorce.
mhm.
Oh, yes.
You
Yes.
know, every realtor goes through that every year, at least once.
Yes.
So you guys see it probably monthly,
Yes, we do.
and you have to figure out who has to be there to sign, and
Mhm.
I guess a court release is required sometimes. Is that kind of how it works?
Well, a lot of times the divorce decree that's filed of record, that will show who gets the property.
Mm-hmm.
But the catch is if there's not a warranty deed that's filed with the real property records,
Mm-hmm.
deeding the person that did not get the property to the other person, then that has to be done. Or the divorce decree has to be filed in the real estate records.
Mm-hmm.
So everything has to be filed in the real estate records. That's what we always look at. So, but yeah, either one of those things need to be done in order to.
And that's really awkward. Again, back from the
Yes.
realtor thing, and I know it's awkward for you guys too when you're sitting there
Mhm.
with a divorced couple. But
Right.
people can be separated for all the bad reasons in the world,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden, folks, they're in a room with you,
Oh, yes.
and they're not happy to be in that room.
Yes.
They're either not getting as much of the house as they thought they were,
Mhm.
or their portion's going for child support, or it can be really. I've been uncomfortable a couple of times, and you
Mhm.
can just, and you know how realtors, we'll get a cup of coffee and go, okay, this is going to be fun.
Mhm.
We're going to
Mhm.
battle.
Yeah.
You lead the way because I have no idea what I'm doing. And that's another reason you need a good title company for those kind of things. So,
Well, and a lot of times in divorce situations, we will close them at separate times.
oh,
That's
good.
9
Yes.
times out of 10. That's what we'll do because it just makes for an easier closing. It's not awkward, so that's typically what we do.
Oh, that's good. Because
Yeah.
the
We
last
try
one
to
I did
alleviate
Yes.
as much drama
Yes,
as we
we do.
can.
oh, good.
Yeah.
That's great. Because last one I did, everybody's in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no.
I mean, we've
And-
had that before, but
Well, you know
usually
what they said was, we all get along great. Yeah, it's great. I'll
Mhm.
just, yeah, he'll show up, and next thing you know, there's 4 of us sitting in there,
right.
and
Mhm.
it was
He
very.
didn't- He didn't get the lawnmower out that he was supposed to get out 3 weeks
it can
ago,
be
so they can't. I mean,
so silly stuff.
yeah,
like,
it can get insane.
Yeah.
Thought you were going to take that fridge with you.
Yes, and it's sitting there and they're arguing about who's
Help.
going to get it out in the
Yes.
next 30 minutes.
Talking
yes.
about equity here, folks. Let's forget the fridge.
Yeah.
Let's get on with this. So, well, I think we covered a lot of stuff when it comes to title today. Any last thoughts or anything you'd want to tell a realtor out there looking for a good title company, or a homeowner that might be thinking, I'm going to be getting a hold of my realtor. Maybe I need to get involved in getting a good title company. Any last thoughts or thinkings on that?
I mean, we just strive to give you the best experience possible.
Yep.
I mean, that's
Well, I
That's-
think
that's
they're
what
being
we want.
modest. I'll just tell you flat out.
it's hard to talk about yourself.
I'll honk your horn for you. I've closed a bunch at Providence and in 2 locations, Flower Mound and South Lake.
Yes.
And it's very consistent. And I'm telling you guys, when you walk in, you don't worry about nothing. It's on autopilot. You're going to maybe sign 1 document at the most, and you're going to take pictures. I mean, the
Yes,
realtor.
The realtor.
Oh, it's like, Alan.
See, when it's Alan, I'm in trouble. I know my name, my God. So it's, but you're on cruise control when you walk into Providence. And if you're a realtor out there and you don't have that title company, I know a lot of times your real estate broker will tell you, use this title company, use that title company. Good advice. Usually they give you good advice, and you should take it if you don't know what you're doing. But develop your own relationships in your career, and that'll serve you best. And so I will tell you right now, if you want to develop a good title insurance, company, call Providence. Say, listen, I've not done this before. I want to get in with somebody. I don't know what I'm doing. Do you know what you're doing? Helping me know what I'm doing. And you'll get the answer, which is
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
So-
we do.
Well,
taken care of.
Cammie and Kim, thanks for coming here.
Thanks for
and,
having us.
Thank you.
I learned something today about title I didn't know, and that was kind of cool.
Good. So did we.
Yeah. Yes. 1871.
That's right.
So you guys have a great day, and thanks for listening to Welcome Home Radio. And Blair and Tom will be back next week, and I'll probably be here sitting with them too. So y'all have a great week, and God bless everybody.
Thank you.